all the world wondered after the beast. Revelation 13:3. Hello, good people, it's Rob Lee. They have exploited the poor and called it the lottery. They have rewarded laziness and called it welfare. They have killed our unborn and called it choice. They shun to discipline and call it building self-esteem. They have abused power and call it politics. They have coveted our neighbor's possessions and called it ambition. They have polluted the air with profanity, pornography, filth, hate, and violence, and called it freedom of expression. Yet when we criticize them for their evil behavior, they call it hate speech. You and I are currently being muffled and censored because we are on the right side of this war. We are currently witnessing the final suppression of free speech. Those who speak or write critically are called evil, haters, and dissenters. Yet these same enemies of Jesus Christ can threaten our lives, and it is socially acceptable. In fact, it is encouraged. The loss of the ability to speak freely is the crux of a complete takeover of the United States, Canada, the UK, all of Europe, Scandinavia, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and Russia. However, as I've said many times, all this is part of the Father's plan to chastise and refine his family, whom are called Jacob Israel. The point of this video is to help us to understand how we should deal with the ongoing loss of freedoms. Freedom of speech cannot be restricted because of fear. This will only breed repression, anger, and hate. You cannot block the avenues of speech and expression and deny people the right to praise Jesus Christ. This is going to beget resentment, and inevitably resentment is going to lead to violence. And this is what Jesus Christ talks about, the patience of the saints. Imagine the sheer ignorance in telling those who speak freely that we lack integrity and/or we are a threat to the security of the country. It's true that many people are going to wander after the beast. However, I also believe this diabolical behavior will wake many folks up to the truth. Right now, many blind Christians who are in the Babylonian system will have their eyes opened by fear, suffering, and heartache. They will quickly realize how blessed they were when it's all gone. In 1917, the Bolsheviks took over Russia, and after a bloody war and the murder of the Romanov family, including the children, the family was put up against the wall and shot at point-blank range. The churches were burned down, the people became slaves, tens of millions of people either died of forced starvation or literally being worked to death until the point to where your clothes fell off. Families would whisper their thoughts for fear of neighbors and or their own family hearing them and reporting them to the secret police, known as the Cheka and later called the KGB. Now, folks, these people had no internet. They had no cell phones. They had no technology. Imagine this same thing happening in our society. And just use your head, people. Mark 13:12. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. Men and women are afraid to speak freely, and many of the youth of this country are out of control and getting worse. We live in the tell-all society, as was created after 9/11. The Patriot Acts of 1 and 2 removed many of our freedoms, but it also started the snitch culture, the indoctrination of the if you see something, say something culture. And this started with our children being told to watch their parents, family, and friends. 9/11 also happens to be the verse of the king of the bottomless pit in Revelation, and the day that I took ill less than 2 months ago. In my video, The Synagogue of Satan's Entertainment Agenda, I told you the battlefield is for your mind. If you capture the mind, the body will follow. It's psychological warfare at the highest level. And this psychological warfare happens in stages, and they are this. 1, demoralization. The people have to be demoralized. 2, destabilization. What a family can do now is nothing compared to what they could do just 30, 40, even 50 years ago, when a dad could work, take care of the mom, 3 or 4 children, go on vacation and put his children through school. That's unheard of now. Crisis. Well, we have a crisis every day in the United States. Most of it is made up, but we have a crisis nonetheless. 4, normalization. It has to be normal to the people. They have to accept it as normal. This is everyday life, and they like it. What this does, folks, is that it attacks the very heart of who you are. And it attacks your religion, your education, but it attacks your culture. And this devastation to our societies are profound. And right now, the dumbing down and the re-educating of America, folks, It's at its peak, and it's been going on for about 70 years. And the outlook, the ideology, and the personality of all Western cultures has changed. Most folks in Western cultures now can no longer recognize their own countries. The end goal is to have a nation of people who are unable to assess true information, people who can no longer think or reason, a nation of zombies who will worship the devil and not ask any questions. The destruction of our nations has been well orchestrated. The Western culture countries have done exactly as was prophesied. They have denied the Father, and they have denied Jesus Christ. And for this betrayal, the punishment will be swift, and it will be sure. Not for all. Some may be found worthy to escape, some may not. And some may be called to glorify our Father in the way that he chooses. I want to take your attention now to Matthew 23:33, the words of Jesus Christ. And there's nothing more powerful than the words of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ says, "Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?" Now, the word generation comes from the word Genesis, genes, genetics, and genealogy. And Jesus is saying they are a family or a race of the devil. Now, if we backtrack, Jesus says in Matthew 10:16, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves." So he sends us forth, and he was talking to the apostles, but this is his whole flock, as sheep, which is us, in the midst of wolves. Wolves will try to destroy you. And he tells us to be harmless. Don't be violent and crazy, but be ye therefore wise as serpents. Now, he tells us who the serpents are. He tells us to be as smart as they are. Does that mean book smart? No. What he's talking about is our spiritual discernment is supposed to overcome what they do, and it will. To be wise as a serpent, folks, is you have to understand what Jesus Christ is saying. It's a way of living. It's knowing when to speak and how to speak it. It's knowing what to say and what not to say. This doesn't mean being cowardly. It simply means when the Spirit of the Almighty Father lives in you, you will understand there's moments to talk, there's moments not to talk. There's things to say and not to say. This doesn't mean that we're cowardly or that we're backing down. It means that we have to pick and choose our moments, just as Jesus Christ did. If we follow Jesus Christ and see what Jesus Christ did, he set the example of how to deal with the same monsters because he dealt with them 2,000 years ago. Now, many good folks have good intentions, but they simply do not have the wisdom and the temperament to confront the evil of this world with facts. Their message gets lost in spewing so much hate that many folks cannot hear their message, and that's sad because many folks in our family, they have a lot of good things to say, but it has to be done the way Jesus Christ would want it to be done. To speak out against evil in these days and those that are coming, we must have the Father's protection. That's tantamount. We must have the Father's protection. We are told to follow Jesus Christ. Now, he defeated them with calm truth. Only once did Jesus become violent, and this was part of prophecy. He stormed the temple, he made a whip, and he removed the bankers. They were in his Father's house. He's Jesus Christ. We're not. When you comment on this channel or any social media, be wise as serpents. I'm not telling you to be cowardly, because if you start practicing cowardice, what will happen is you will insult your Father. Revelation 21:8. Your Father does not like a coward. These monsters know everything about you, man. They have recorded everything that you have done going back 30 and 40 years. Trust me, it's there. I have witnessed it, man. They know everything about you. There's no need to hide from it. Embrace the Almighty Creator. Put your arms around him and walk forward. Do not be afraid, but be wise as serpents. Wisdom must be balanced with temperament. And also, let me say this. Choose your friends and your acquaintances very carefully. Proverbs 13:20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Wisdom, truth, and the right temperament are the way to make your point, folks. If we will do what's pleasing to our Father, he will bless us for it. Freedom of speech, we have to exercise it, or it will diminish, and it will get to the point that we'll be whispering just like the Russians did. And if we are thwarted in our attempts to speak freely, we can take this as a sign that we are on the right side of Jesus Christ. Folks, I've got 3 YouTube channels. And on each video, I get now 300 or 400 views. Now, there was a time I could reach 300 or 400,000, 1.8 million. What's the difference? Well, I'm obviously doing something that's pleasing to the Father, that's pissing off the devil. I mean, come on. And so if this happens to you, you're doing something right. And not just because I make videos, but even you with your comments or how you live in life. If the devil don't like it, you're doing something right. If the system doesn't like it, you're doing something right. But you have to be ye wise as serpents. Be ye wise as serpents. I would like to draw your attention to the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation. The chapter of Revelation 13, quite frankly, is worth doing a complete study on. And many folks believe this beast to be something that it's not. Again, I'm not your preacher, your teacher, and I'm certainly not a know-it-all. I will stand on what the Father has shown me, though. Revelation 13:3 says, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast." Now, many people believe this is a man. It's amazing the way people cannot distinguish between what is literal and what is symbolic in the Bible. And all the world wondered after the beast. Revelation 13:4 says, "And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" So all the world will wonder after this beast, and who is able to make war with him. Now, the him is not really a man. But now let's get to it, to identify this beast. Who can you not criticize, and why? Now, the scriptures say, who can make war with this beast, meaning that this beast is all-powerful. It has so much power you cannot make war with it. Well, the beast speaks to people daily. The tools are internet, Hollywood, TV, music, church, education, and the media. Who owns and controls and operates all these tools of the beast? Any questions? Now I want us to look at the behavior of the world and those close to us. You will see this behavior growing worse and worse with each passing day. And this is how the tribulation will be, folks. It's a woman giving birth. It's a process of time. And as she begins to have pains, and soon the child will be delivered, this is how Jesus Christ taught us about the tribulation. Everything that is wrong will intensify. And if we pray and use our discernment, we can have a really good idea of when the birth will be, meaning the tribulation of this earth at its peak. 1 Timothy chapter 4. "Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils." Seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Listen to me, brethren. That is the internet. That is the church. That is Hollywood. That is TV. Speaking lies and hypocrisy. What we just got through talking about, their hypocrisy is unmatched. Having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Walk into any 501c3 church or get on the internet, and you will find deception on a scale that is so broad and powerful that only a few elect will have the spiritual discernment to wade through the sewage and find the truth. This is rampant, folks, in all media, internet, education, and all entertainment. 2 Timothy chapter 3. "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away." From such turn away. Did not say you could save them. Did not say you're supposed to convert them, because you do not have that power. But it says they have a form of godliness. What does this mean? These are your churchgoers. They have some form of godliness, but they don't know the power of it. They simply cannot bring themselves to it. They're too busy worshiping Remphan. And it doesn't tell us to try to convert them. It tells us to go the other direction. Stay the hell away from them. On our journey, folks, we may take comfort. Listen to me, because many of you are going to suffer, and I have went through my own suffering, and I may go through more. I probably will. And my wife is going through her own suffering. Many of you have been through your own hell, and some of you are probably going through it now. And I love you for it, and I love you that you're here with me. Take comfort, folks, because men and women have came before us, and they have served as our examples. You have brethren, family, and ancestors who serve Jesus Christ, who serve your Father, Yahuwah, and they were mocked, scourged, tortured, imprisoned, stoned, beheaded, set on fire, fed to lions, and many wandered about the earth, destitute, sick, tormented. These are your brothers and sisters, and they have came before you, and they have suffered. We have the ultimate example in Jesus Christ. Remember, I think people lose sight of Jesus Christ, of what he went through. And I've tried to make this clear on my channel and my past channels of what my King went through. Many a time I have shed tear, wept at what he went through. And if I start talking about it too much, I'll weep now. Of what my King and what your King went through. They tried to kill him as a baby. A baby. Imagine that, as a baby, an infant. He could not cry. Your King and Redeemer could not cry because the soldiers were trying to kill him. The Canaanite, Edomite soldiers. Jesus Christ was beaten, mocked, held hostage, and murdered by suffocating to death. He sure as hell didn't have an easy life. And when he went up on the tree, he went for us. For us. Because you have to understand that if he wanted to, he could have came down and said, I'm not dying today. There's not going to be any death. He could have destroyed every son of a gun there, and his father still would have said, come on home. This is the truth, people. This is your King. Do not ever forget your King. Romans 8:17 says, if so be we suffer with him, that we may be glorified together. When you suffer, tell Jesus that you love him. When you're hurting, tell him that you love him. That is the key to this life, people. It truly is. In the end, Jesus the Christ will judge us, and we are going to be held accountable for our actions or lack thereof. We will fight the good fight. We are good soldiers, and we are a strong people. Stay loyal to your King, and you will reign with him forever as a royal family. Did you know that? We are the true royal family. According to the Holy Scriptures, we are a royal priesthood, a family of kings and queens, real kings and queens. You are the chosen. You are the elect. You are the flock of Jesus Christ. May the Almighty Father bless each and every one of you and your loved ones in the name of the King of Kings. And remember the words of your King, be ye wise as serpents.